There's a song by Post Malone called I Had Some Help. And while it might seem like another anthem of heartache, it's packed with deep reflections about accountability, blame, and the shared responsibility we often overlook in life's messy moments. Now, this track speaks to those situations where things go wrong, sometimes horribly wrong, and both parties would rather point fingers than acknowledge the part they played. Now, we've all been there, caught in a whirlwind of emotions, thinking that if things have crumbled, it must be someone else's fault. But this song challenges that mindset and invites us to look deeper. It reminds us that we rarely make a mess alone. We usually have some help. So let's start by focusing on one of the core lines in the song. It ain't like I can make this kind of mess all by myself. How many times have we been in a situation where everything fell apart and our first instinct was to say, it's not my fault? But life doesn't work that way. In almost every conflict, in almost every misstep, there's a shared responsibility. Now, whether it's a crumbling relationship, a failed project at work, or even a personal setback, we don't get there on our own. There are choices we made, actions we took, and as Post Malone says, sometimes even those around us helped fuel the fire. Now, he drives this point home with, "Don't act like you ain't helped me pull that bottle off the shelf." This line is a powerful reminder because it speaks to the temptation to place blame solely on others. It's easy to say it was someone else's fault, yet when we're honest with ourselves, we realize it takes two to make things go wrong. Maybe it wasn't all your fault, but if you look closely, you're likely to see where you participated. Whether it was enabling bad habits, going along with something you knew wasn't right, or simply turning a blind eye. The mess was co-created. And when things go awry, it's crucial to step back and see how both parties played a role. That's where real growth happens. You see, we've all heard the saying, teamwork makes the dream work. But in this context, it highlights a sobering truth. Just as collaboration can lead to success, it can also lead to failure when both parties aren't aligned. Now, in relationships, in business, and even in friendships, when both sides aren't working towards the same goal, things break down. And just like in the song, it's important to acknowledge that both people in any situation contributed to where things ended up. Life is a series of partnerships, and no one person is entirely at fault when things go wrong. It takes two to break a heart in two, Post Malone sings. And this line is a reminder that blame isn't a one-way street. We often try to play the innocent party, but deep down, we know it's rarely that simple. In those moments where you want to cast yourself as the victim, remember what the song says. I had some help. It's not about beating yourself up, but rather about learning to look at situations with honesty and transparency. Admitting that you played a part in the chaos isn't a sign of weakness. It's a step toward becoming stronger, toward healing, and toward preventing the same patterns from repeating. When you accept that it wasn't all the other person's fault, that you too were part of the problem, it empowers you to make better choices moving forward. Now, what can we learn from this? Well, I believe life is a collaborative effort, and in our successes and in our failures, we are never acting alone. The mistakes we make, the conflicts we find ourselves in, the broken relationships, they are rarely just our fault, or someone else's fault entirely. There's always a push and a pull, a shared responsibility. And acknowledging that is not about assigning blame, but about growing, about learning, and about moving forward with greater clarity. So the next time you find yourself in a difficult situation, instead of rushing to point fingers or defend yourself, take a moment to ask, what part did I play? Where did I have some help in making things go wrong? And more importantly, how can I learn from this to do better next time? Now remember Post Malone's message. I had some help. Admitting that you weren't the sole cause of a problem, but that you also weren't blameless, is the first step towards real change. It's about owning your part of the story so you can rewrite it moving forward. So today I ask you, what role will you play in your next chapter? Will you keep the cycle of blame going, or will you step up, take ownership, and create something better? The choice is yours. Thank you.